I was relaxing in a hot bath when the door opened a little bit. This is the start of my story. Warm water was running down my skin. Steam filled the bathroom, and everything was covered in a light haze. I closed my eyes and enjoyed the silence. Suddenly, the door creaked, and I froze. I turned my head quickly to the entrance, my heart pounding with anticipation. My husband's friend was standing in the doorway. I tried to say something, but I couldn't find the words. He looked a bit tense, and his lips were parted, but he was also quiet. I felt a drop of water slide down my cheek. I wasn't sure what to do. The silence felt overwhelming. He took a step forward, and I cringed, trying to cover myself with his hands. He didn't turn away, which was a huge step forward. I felt a cold fear run through my body. "What are you doing?" My voice shook. He blinked as if he just realized what was happening, but didn't leave. A drop of water fell from my chin and fell into the water. His gaze was a strange, unpleasant mixture of curiosity and something dark. I swallowed. He was gripping the edge of the bathroom so tightly with his fingers that they clenched into a fist. He didn't take another step forward. I felt my blood freeze in my veins. The door was behind him. There was no way out. The water around me felt icy cold. Something in his face changed. I didn't know what he was going to do, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going to stay here defenseless, and my breath was coming in short and sharp. I pressed myself closer to the edge of the bathroom. The cold of the water was no longer felt. He slowly raised his hand, and I tensed my muscles. "Help you," he said, his voice sounding hollow. His eyes narrowed, and then he still didn't move, but something in his posture was threatening. I shook my head. "Come out now, my dear." Silence. He didn't move. The drops from his hair dripped down and fell to the floor. Why didn't he leave? I saw his fingers twitch. Something inside him was struggling. I took a deep breath. If he didn't leave, I would. "I won't wait." I snatched up the metal bottle of shampoo. My fingers gripped it so tightly that my knuckles turned white. He noticed. And then something new appeared on his face. He had a big smile on his face, and it looked like he was really enjoying the moment. I couldn't help but smile back, and I kept my eyes on him, waiting to see what he would do next. I noticed the water dripping off my body, but I didn't pay it any mind. I was completely focused on him. I lifted my hand with the bottle, ready to hit him. His smile got bigger, and his eyes twinkled with interest. I felt a chill run down my spine. I repeated, more gently this time. Still no reaction. He wasn't in any hurry. For a moment, and then suddenly, he leaned closer. I couldn't take it. I threw the bottle right in his face, with a little jerk. A thud. He staggered. I saw his lips curl in pain, but he didn't scream. He just slowly wiped his cheek, looked at me, and smiled. And he had something else in his eyes, something dangerous. I felt so relieved when I realized he wasn't going to leave. Then, he ran a hand down his cheek, where the red mark of the blow had left me. I saw his breath deepen and the muscles in his jaw tighten as he let out a slow breath and took a step forward. My stomach clenched in horror as I tried to crawl back, but the slippery edges of the bathroom gave me no support. My eyes darted. He watched in silence, and I realized that he was enjoying it. I felt helpless and trembling, but I couldn't let him. I clenched my fists and said, "Go away." I said this time a little louder, but in a gentle tone. He bowed his head as if he was thinking, slowly raised his hand. I wasn't sure what he was going to do, but I didn't want to wait. I stood up quickly, grabbed the glass bottle of oil, and threw it at him with all my strength. There was a loud ringing sound. He staggered back, cursing. I didn't give him time to recover. I jumped up. I wasn't even aware that I was wearing anything. All that mattered was getting out of there. but he was on the move. His hand grabbed my wrist, and I felt a hot, firm grip. I could feel his breath on my skin. Then, I saw it in his eyes. A look that sent a chill through my body. It was an animalistic look that left no doubt. My thoughts screamed, "Run," he said, but it was too late. I pulled with all my strength. The skin slid in his fingers, but he only wanted me to run. I hit him with my free hand, catching him in the shoulder, but he didn't even move. I flinched, but I grinned. "You have nowhere to run," he said. In a hushed tone, he murmured, and I responded with a gentle jerk of my body. His grasp felt reassuringly firm. My eyes darted to the side, spotting the towel just a few inches away. If I could have reached it, I might have saved the situation. I took a quick step to the side, and his fingers momentarily loosened. It was all I needed. I gently pulled my hand away, grabbed the towel, and wrapped it around myself. My feet slipped on the wet floor, but I held on tight. He continued to look at me with that same warm smile, as if he was waiting for something. But he didn't move, he just took another step. Then, I caught sight of something flash in the corner of my eye. His right hand and I held our breath, and I felt a chill run down my spine. It was like a knife. Time seemed to freeze, and my heart skipped a beat. I couldn't take my eyes off her. The blade in his hand glinted in the soft bathroom light as a drop of water slid across the metal. His throat seemed to tighten with horror. "Why was this about you?" My voice was barely audible. He tilted his head as if surprised by my question. His fingers twirled the knife easily, like a toy. "You knew this was going to happen. I'm sure you did. I'm here for you, my friend." In a hushed tone, he said, "No, I won't let you." I took a step back, keeping my eyes on the knife. The wall felt like it was closing in on me. He smiled, and I knew I couldn't run away. I swallowed, my body shaking with fear. My mind was racing, trying to find a way out. A way to get him to stop. We were so close. The distance between us was less than a meter. My hair was sticking to my skin, and water dripped down my neck, but I felt fear. And then I saw something moving right behind him in the hallway. It was a shadow, someone's tall figure. And before he could turn around, there was a loud bang, and the bathroom door swung open abruptly. He startled me too. The air froze as if fear itself had absorbed him. The shadow behind him moved, and suddenly, oh no! His voice was deaf, hard, and cold. "What are you?" I knew that voice. "Husband?" Friend slowly turned around. The knife in his hand glinted. In the dim light, I saw his fingers tighten as if he was deciding what to do next. My husband was standing in the doorway. His face was serious, and his eyes showed he was cautious. There was a silent tension between them. Friend slowly exhaled, lowered the knife, but didn't release it. "It's not what you think," he said. In a quiet voice, he said. I saw my husband's jaw tighten. He took a step forward, and my friend took a step back. I saw him fall. My husband looked at me quickly as I stood there, clutching a wet towel and trembling with fear. He looked back at his friend and said just one word. "Come on," he said, his voice warm and inviting. I stopped moving for a moment, thinking he might do something he'd regret. But then he smiled, and his fingers slowly unclenched. The knife fell with a thud on the tile. My legs felt heavy, and I held onto the wall for support. But this wasn't the end. I could see it in his eyes. My husband's friend stepped back, but he didn't leave. He looked straight into my eyes, and his smile was strange. It was like he knew something we didn't. He slowly raised his hands as if he was giving up. But there was no fear or remorse in his eyes. He looked at me with a strange kind of pleasure. My husband stepped forward, his fists clenched. I could see the tension in his shoulders. He was holding himself back. My friend tilted his head back slowly. Finally, his voice was low, but each word seemed to pierce my skin. My husband frowned. "Go away," my friend said. "Of course," he replied. He turned around one step more. I gripped the towel harder. His heart was still pounding, but when he was almost out, he stopped, turned his head, looked at me again, and whispered, "So just me." I heard, "We'll see each other again." I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. Then he disappeared into the darkness of the corridor. Only silence remained. I couldn't move. My husband turned to me. "You're all right," he said. I wanted to say yes, but the words stuck in my throat because somewhere in my heart, I knew this wasn't the end. My husband came up. His hands were on my shoulders in a flash. I shivered, and my body was still very stiff. He looked me in the eye. What did he do? I wanted to answer, but I couldn't. I just breathed heavily. My husband frowned. I saw his fists clenched again. He was ready for a fight, but his friend was gone. There was just an empty corridor and silence. I swallowed, gripping the towel so tightly that my fingernails dug into the fabric. "I need to get dressed." I finally found the courage to breathe again. My husband nodded and moved away, but his eyes remained on me. I closed the door and leaned back against it, my heart beating unevenly and frantically in my chest. Then, before my eyes, his smile. These strange words. "We will see each other again." Why did he say that? I took a deep breath. I need to get ready. I quickly dressed. My hands were still shaking, and his back was tense. He left. He said goodbye to me softly, without even turning around. But I felt like there was still something more to it. I could feel it in the air of the house, like a presence that wasn't there but also wasn't. Then, I saw it on the table. There was a mobile phone, his phone, left there by a friend. I didn't want to touch it, but I couldn't help but wonder what was going on. Something inside my husband shifted, and we found ourselves looking at each other in silence. The room was so quiet that I could hear the clock ticking. My fingers reached for the phone. The screen flickered to life, and I saw a single message from an unknown number. It was a bit belligerent, and I felt my stomach tighten. "This is just the beginning," I thought. My blood froze in my veins. "This is just the beginning." He suddenly seemed icy cold, and I felt goosebumps run down my spine. My husband took a step closer and looked over his shoulder. He looked at the screen for a moment, then suddenly grabbed the phone out of my hands. "Oh no." His voice got low and tense. He immediately started dialing the number. Then there were silence, beeps, and silence again. No one was answering. He looked upset, clenching his teeth. "This one's playing with us." I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. I heard these words in my head, as if someone was whispering them right in my ear. "This is just the beginning." I took a deep breath, trying to calm down. "We need to go to the police," I whispered, my voice barely above a whisper. My husband turned abruptly. I met his gaze, and saw anger, helplessness, and fear in his eyes. He was afraid, just like me, but he tried to hide it. I clenched my fists. "We can't just sit and wait." He passed his hand over his face, exhaled loudly, then looked at me for a long time, as if weighing something in his head, and suddenly, he said, "You don't know who he really is." I froze. That the husband turned to the window and didn't say a word was really hard to take. His chest rose and fell heavily, and I, feeling for him, stepped closer. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice gentle. He didn't answer right away, but when he did, his voice was different. It was hollow, as if every word was coming out with difficulty. "This is not just my friend." I felt a chill roll through my body. "Then who is he?" The husband turned around, and in his eyes, I saw something that made me feel a bit cold. He is a man who doesn't run away. His chest tightened as if the air in the room had suddenly become heavy, and he slowly lowered his gaze as if trying to clear his mind. He didn't just show up today. I clenched my fists. "Explain," he said. He exhaled heavily. "I owed him a long time ago. I thought I'd closed this one debt," I said, pausing. His gaze has turned grim, but he thinks otherwise. Somewhere deep down, I already knew. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't just madness or a strange act. It was a warning sign. I looked at my husband was holding the phone. I could still see the message on the screen. This was just the beginning, and I suddenly realized that we couldn't just forget or pretend that nothing happened. This man wouldn't leave. My husband closed the phone, threw it on the table, and took my hand. His fingers were hot and tense. "We'll leave," he said. He said firmly. I froze far away from here. I was scared, but I knew I had to do it. Was this the way out? I could feel his presence, even now, as if he was standing somewhere nearby watching. I saw his smile in front of my eyes again, and suddenly I understood. Running is useless. No matter where we are, he will always find us. I took a deep breath and squeezed my husband's hand in return. "Then we should be ready." My husband looked at me with a flicker of surprise in his eyes, but then he nodded slowly. We didn't know what would happen next, but one thing was clear. This was really just the beginning. The end.